Hare Krishna. A little bit. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Padavijikacharya Ashtotar Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavijikacharya Ashtotar Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Prakash, you can close that door. Thanks.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam.
I think yesterday we skipped verse 46 accidentally by mistake or something.
Did we skip 46? Oh my God. All right, so we'll do 46. And then we'll move on to what, 48?
Yes.
49. Boy, I'm really getting mixed up. All right.
48 was today.
46 and then 49.
46 and 48, I think.
So we'll do 48. 46 and then 48. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 19th day of May 2021 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 11 titled The Universal Form, and we skipped a verse, so we're on text 46 at the bottom of page 491. Well, it's beginning at the top of 492, unless you're reading the Devanagari. Kiritinam, Gadinam, Chakrahastam, Kiritinam, Gadinam, Chakrahastam, Ichchami, Tvam, Drashtum, Ahang Tathaiva, Ichchami Tvam Drashtum Ahang Tathaiva, Tenaiva, Rupena, Chaturbhujena, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho, Bhava, Vishwamurti, Sahasrabaho, Bhava Vishwamurti, Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam, Ichchami Tvam Drashtamaham Tathaiva, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurti, Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam, Ichchami Tvam Drashtamaham Tathaiva, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurti, Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam, Ichchami Tvam Drashtamaham Tathaiva, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurti, Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam, Amitvam Drashtamaham Tathaiva, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurti, Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam, Ichchami Tvam Drashtamaham Tathaiva, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurti, Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam, Ichchami Tvam Drashtamaham Tathaiva, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena, Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurti. Ladies? Not yet. Okay. Kiritinam with helmet, Gadinam with club, Chakrahastam, disc in hand, Ichchami, I wish, Tvam, you, Drashtam, to see, Aham, I, Tata Eva, in that position, Tena Eva, in that, Rupena form, Chatu Bhujena, four-handed, Sahasrabaho, O thousand-handed one, Bhava, just become, Vishwamurti, O universal form. Now before we read the translation. I'm sorry, is this door open behind me? Yeah, it's a little drafty in here. As long as we got the fans going, no COVID can get any foothold. Okay. Translation. A universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, 539, it is stated, Rama Dimuti Chakralani Yamena Tishtan. The Lord is eternally situated in hundreds and thousands of forms, and the main forms are those like Rama, Nrsimha, Narayan, etc. There are innumerable forms, but Arjuna knew that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, assuming his temporary universal form. He is now asking to see the form of Narayan, a spiritual form. This verse establishes without any doubt the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and all other features originate from him. He is not different from his plenary expansions, and he is God in any of his innumerable forms. In all of these forms, he is fresh like a young man. That is the constant feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who knows Krishna becomes free at once from all contamination of the material world. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So Arjuna is praying to Krishna that he will give up the universal form. He wanted to see it at first, and now he doesn't want to see it anymore. He wants to Krishna to go back to his attractive human-like form of 4 arms, and eventually he will get to see the 2-arm form again. So Prabhupada quotes the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Mudicikalani Yamena Tishtan, in which Lord Brahma is saying that Krishna appears in all different kinds of forms, and plenary expansions as well as partial expansions. Thousands of forms, of which a few we're familiar with. And the plenary expansions, plenary means full. And it means, expansions like Rama, Nrsimha, Matsya, Varaha. These are all plenary. Now, that means they have the powers of Krishna, but they don't display them. He displays all the powers, all the vibhutis. We read in the last, the vibhutis are the glories, the powers, the things that are most amazing. So he has these. We may be familiar with this list of Krishna's qualities. It's always nice to go over them again. There's four different categories. The first is the first 50 we also can possess, and do possess to a minute degree. The pure devotees possess them in the greatest degree that a human being can possess them. Qualities like kindness, mercy, strength, skill in speaking, physical beauty, all these different things. So we have a little of those for a short time in each incarnation as human beings, And Krishna always manifests them to the nth degree, as we say, to unlimited. And then there's these 5 that only that human beings can't have, but incarnation like Shiva can have. Atta panchaguni angshena girishadasu sada swarupa sampraptak sarva gyo nitya nutanak sachidananda sandranga sarva siddhina shevita. So angsha means they can have him not in the same degree that Krishna has, because Shiva is not on that level. He's his own tattva. He's a Shiva tattva. But he has certain qualities that human beings cannot possess. Sada Swarupa. He's always existing in his Swarup, Siddhi. It's not that Shiva then at one point takes another form and goes back to Godhead. He's in his eternal form. Sada Swarupa. We're not, these aren't our eternal form. Sarvagya. Now this is an interesting concept. And Prabhupada explains when he lists this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he's all-knowing. Sarvagya. But not as all-knowing as Krishna. It's like perfect, more perfect, and most perfect. You have to get into this kind of concepts you don't find in ordinary English. Unique, most unique. Yeah, you can, you get a mark off your 8th grade English paper if you do that. But with Krishna, these things, you need to have these concepts. So, Sarvagyo is omniscient to some degree. Nitya Nutanak. You never see Shiva as an old man. He doesn't get old. Nitya Nut means always fresh and new. Krishna certainly has that. Sachidananda Sandranga. Sandra always means intense. So Sachidananda Sandranga. So his body is eternal, blissful, full of knowledge. Sarvagyo Nityanu Sachidananda Sandra Sarva Siddhi Nishevata. And he has all the yogic siddhis. That makes sense. He's such a great yogi. But then there's 5 that even he doesn't have. 5 of Krishna's 64 qualities. Prabhupada liked the percentages, especially the human. 78%. We can have 50/64ths of Krishna's quality. 78. Work it out. It's 78. So then you have these 5 that the Vishnus perform. Obtain like Karanadakshay Vishnu and Garbhadakshay Vishnu. They have these. So Ata Panchaga then it says Ata Gunayesh Angshenigas Sadasurupa Samana. No, that's Shiva. Ata Chanti Gunapand Ye Lakshmisha Divar Lakshmisha. The Isha of Lakshmi, the Lord of Isha, Lakshmi, in other words, the Vishnus. Avataravadi bijam hatarikati dayaka atmanama ganakashi jame krishna kilapata. Actually, these are 4. So there's 50, and then there's 5, 5, and 4. So there's 5 here. Avachinta Mahashakti. This like Mahavishnu, to try to conceive of the energies that he is emanating to embrace all of these thousands of universes and millions of universes that come out. They all exist within his energy. That's in the Brahma Samhita also. Avachinta means inconceivable. Like Koti Brahmanda Vigraha, from his form are emanating 10 millions and millions of universes. That's pretty inconceivable. Avataravali Bijam, he's the source of all the avatars. The avatars come through the Vishnu. That's explained even about Krishna. He appears first as Vishnu, and then he appears as Hatarikati, whoever he kills gains liberation. Atmanamagana Karshiti, even the Atmaramas are attracted to him. You know, like Shukadev, he was Atmarama, but he became attracted when he heard Krishna's, Leela and so forth. So the Vishnus are like that. They attract even the Atmaramas. And finally, those are the unique qualities of Krishna, which really are the all-attractive features of Krishna that, we can become most attracted by. Sarva Bhuta Chamatkara Lila Kalolavadadi Atulya Manara Preya Mandita Priya Mandala. Sarva Bhuta Chamatkara Lila Kalolavadadi. He's an ocean full of pastimes that astound all the moving and non-moving living entities when they hear about them, Lila Kalolavadadi Atulya Marura Prema Mandita Priya Mandala. He's always surrounded, not like Vishnu, by the gopis who are at the highest pinnacle of loving devotion. Then there's the flute. Trijagan Madakasha Chi Murali Kalakujataha. With his warbling melodies of that magic flute, he attracts all living entities. 3 worlds. Trijagan Manasarka Shimurali. Asamanodva Rupa Shri Vismapada Charachara. And with his unequaled beauty and opulence, he astounds all the moving and non-moving living beings. So these are the different levels of attraction. You notice that the universal form wasn't part of that list. Universal form has astounding, frightening qualities. But there's not really much of a rasa you can have with the universal form. Prabhupada, he often jokes. He says, what if Krishna appeared as universal form? How could you address him? Or how could you, feed him? You can't. Krishna, he comes in the accessible form, which is the original form. So he longs. I long to see that. Prabhupada writes that your form in 4 hands. And then the verse established. Okay, so this is an important verse to know. You don't even have to know the whole verse. It's just like one line. Ede Changsa Kalapungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That phrase, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, is what is called the Paribhas Sutra of the whole Bhagavatam. This is designated by Jiva Goswami. A Paribhas Sutra is a statement in a work of literature that's kind of the foundation of the whole literature. So what's the foundation of the whole literature? Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole movement, the whole philosophy rests on that. And where does this statement appear in the Bhagavatam? It appears in chapter 3, text 28 of the first canto. After a whole list of avatars, many of whom we know as Leela avatars, but it's more than the main 10. The 4 Kumaras are in there. Narada Muni and everything. Krishna and Balaram are there. And so he says all of these, this whole list comprises those who are plenary portions. Yes. Paribhas sutra. Yeah. I'm not sure. I know what sutra means, but anyway, it's a certain technical phrase, So, Ete, all of these that I just listed are Anksha or Kala. They're either partial expansions of Krishna. Some of them are empowered, like the four Kumaras. They're not Vishnu Tattva, but they're empowered with the Jnana Shakti, And of course, then they became bhaktas, so they're, like that. But they're especially known to have tremendous knowledge. Or they're plenary, like the Kurmas, Rupas in there, and Varaha, like that, But, two means but. Krishna's two, Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is God himself. He's the avatari. He's not an avatar. He's an avatari. Avatar means someone who descends, an incarnation who descends to come to, this planet or this universe. Krishna, he sends. He comes himself sometimes, and he has a role of an avatar, but he's basically expanding, and they're coming and, doing certain things. Leela avatars, they come for a certain purpose. That's why they have those special forms. Varaha, especially, can root out the earth at the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean, so he came with a snout as a, hog. But Prabhupada said, but he's not a hog, he's in the form of a hog. So here, Arjuna is asking to, Ichchami tam drashtamaham tadaiva. I want to see this form where you're carrying the club and you have the beautiful helmet and so forth. So he's asking. Now we read the next verse already. And Krishna.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So you said avatar and avatari Prabhu is, what is the difference? Avatar is descends and avatari is what?
Okay,
I didn't
so
understand.
you mean the difference between avatar and avatari?
Yes.
Is that what yeah. Avatari means the source of the avatars. You see what I'm saying? Avatar,
yes.
We commonly, say, okay, Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya, as an avatar, a golden avatar. But technically speaking, as we learned early on, believe me, when I was working in Back to Godhead, we warned, don't ever say that Lord Chaitanya is an avatar of Krishna. He's Krishna himself, to make sure that. So Krishna is not technically speaking an avatar because he's the source of all the other avatars. So avatari means one who's the source of the avatars. You understand?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And then you said about Lord Shiva's quality and Vishnu's quality. You said Lord Shiva is 5 less than Krishna's quality.
The way it goes like this: living entities, especially human beings who get up to human, can possess 50 of Krishna's 64 qualities. We share them, just like kind, merciful. We can be all kind and merciful. Krishna is infinitely so, But this is where Prabhupada says we're qualitatively one in that regard, right? So we had share, and the others also have, of course. Shiva has all those. I mean, they all. Then there's 5 that we can't have. The next 5, only like Shiva can have, and Krishna has, of course, and the Vishnus, and I listed them: omniscience, partial omniscience. Go figure. And some other Sarvasiddhis always has a yogic perfections like that. Then there's 5 that even Shiva can't have, that the Narayans have. The source of all the avatars, whoever they kill gets liberation. That's not true for Shiva. Certainly not true for us. And then there's 4 that only Krishna possesses. Even the Vishnus don't have. You'll never see Vishnu playing a flute. You're not going to see Narayan with a flute. So, and no gopis and those 4 that I listed. You understand?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Read Nectar of Devotion. It's described there nicely.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Not to text 47, but text 48, right? Okay. Reading text 48. Naveda yagya beyanayana danar Nacha kriyabi natabobit ugrai Evam rupa shakya aham nirloke Drashtum tadanyena kudu pravira. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you, this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna now, O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. Purport. The divine vision in this connection should be clearly understood. Who can have divine vision? Divine means godly. Unless one attains the status of divinity as a demigod, he cannot have divine vision. And what is a demigod? It is stated in the Vedic scriptures that those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are demigods. Vishnu Bhakto Smito Deva. Those who are atheistic, that is, who do not believe in Vishnu, or who recognize only the impersonal part of Krishna as the supreme, cannot have the divine vision. It is not possible to decry Krishna and at the same time have the divine vision. One cannot have the divine vision without becoming divine. In other words, those who have divine vision can also see like Arjuna. The Bhagavad Gita gives the description of the universal form. Although this description was unknown to everyone before Arjuna, now one can have some idea of the Vishwarupa after this incident. Those who are actually divine can see the universal form of the Lord, but one cannot be divine without being a pure devotee of Krishna. The devotees, however, who are actually in the divine nature and who have divine vision are not very much interested in seeing the universal form of the Lord. As described in the previous verse, Arjuna desired to see the four-handed form of Lord Krishna as Vishnu, and he was actually afraid of the universal form. In this verse, there are some significant words, just like Veda Yagyabhya Abdya Yanai, which refers to studying Vedic literature and the subject matter of sacrificial regulations. Veda refers to all kinds of Vedic literature, such as the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, and the 18 Puranas, the Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutra. One can study these at home or anywhere else. Similarly, there are sutras, Kalpa Sutras and Mimamsa Sutras, for studying the method of sacrifice. Now, just to let you know, if you don't know, sutra means aphorism. It means a little short, minimal thing like a Tato Brahma Jigyasa, which needs explanation. So there's all kinds of sutras besides the Vedanta Sutras or Brahma Sutras. Dana refers to charity which is offered to a suitable party, such as those who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. Similarly, quote, pious activities refers to the Agnihotra and the prescribed duties of the different castes. And the voluntary acceptance of some bodily pains is called tapasya. So one can perform all these, can accept bodily penances, give charity, study the Vedas, etc. But unless he is a devotee like Arjuna, it is not possible to see that universal form. Those who are impersonalists are also imagining that they are seeing the universal form of the Lord. But from the Bhagavad Gita, we understand that the impersonalists are not devotees. Therefore, they are unable to see the universal form of the Lord. There are many persons who create create incarnations, or we say, who create incarnations. They falsely claim an ordinary human being to be an incarnation, but this is all foolishness. We should follow the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, there is no possibility of attaining perfect spiritual knowledge. Although the Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study of the science of God, still it is so perfect that it enables one to distinguish what is what. The followers of a pseudo-incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form, but that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. So one first of all has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. So again, we come back to the point, and this is a recurring theme in the Bhagavad Gita, this purification of the vision. And chapter 13 is a lot of that. You know, one who has the vision of eternity, of spiritual vision, can see the soul and the super soul present in all living beings. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane vihastani. One who has spiritual vision sees others equally. The Brahman, the dog eater, the elephant, like that, you know. So, and then we find in the Brahma Samhita perhaps the most famous statement about that. Premanjana chudita bhakti balochanena santa sadaiva didiyesha balokiyanti yang shyama sundaram achinjugana sarupam govindamadi purushantamaham bhajami. I don't know of any devotee who's come to ISKCON and, you know, practiced devotional service for any amount of time and then develops an ardent desire to see the universal form. Does anyone know like that? We want to see Krishna. We want to see the two-handed, beautiful form, you know, with Radharani, you know. And this verse from the Brahma Samhita says, one who has anointed his eyes with the salve of prema, of love of God, can always see Shama Sundar in his heart. Yag Shama Achincha Guna Sarupam, with all of the inconceivable qualities that he possesses. So it's not that we, you know, that we see it. We're able to get a imaginary vision there. It's actually, he's actually always there. But we can't see him because we're absorbed in the external. These vision, this ability to see, as we learn from this chapter, is bestowed by Krishna, right? Arjuna wanted to see it. He said, "Yeah, you can see it, but not with those eyes. I have to give you the eyes to see." Yeah? So similarly, our even in, you know, practicing devotees, as we all are, you can experience how your vision of the deity changes. You know, I mean, when I first walked in the temple, you know, I don't even think I saw the deities. You know, you see all the flowers and everything. I mean, Bhadin Raya Maharaj had so many stories, right? And I think one of them is like, you know, people came in and they were standing in the back, and they wanted to know what's the significance of the fountain. It's God looking at you, you know. They're not eligible to see, you know, because there's too much static, there's too many doubts, you know, and it's very much enjoined. Arche Vishnu Shiladi Guru Sundarabhati Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. There's a whole verse about that. How if one sees the first part of the verse, if one sees, or you see not so much with the eyes, physical eyes, but with the interaction of the mind and the physical eyes, you know, that's how you're seeing. Like someone walks in this temple and they look at that picture of Ram and Sita and Lakshman behind, they'll have no idea what it all means. They can see, oh, there's a you know, pretty nice looking guy and a beautiful woman, and there's some guy in the back there. I don't know who that is. Doesn't mean anything. But a devotee sees all, you know, is reminded of Ram Leela and the whole pastime, you know what I mean? You see differently according to your consciousness. So a devotee who's, I like to tell this story. There's a devotee in Miami named Dravida Dasa. He's been there forever. He's been there since the 60s, late 60s, I think, at least 69. And so he told this story when I lived there for 6 years. He told this story that he was always involved with the deities. I think he's the head pujari now, you know. And so, you know, there's always a team, like we have here, a team, you know, pujaris and cooks and things taken care. So he was part of the team that was making the milk sweets for the devotees every day, maybe 2 or 3 devotees. So one day, this one called in sick, this one blooped, whatever. So suddenly he had to make all the sweets. And so it was like a whole, you know, all night he was making the sweet the pears and the burfi and the sandesh and the kheer, and, you know. And so next morning, you know, before Mangalarti, he walks in, you know, and to offer the sweets. And he looks over at the deities, Radha, Krishna. I have a picture of them, they're very beautiful. And suddenly he was startled. He'd never seen them smile that broadly, you know. And, you know, he gives an example of a reciprocation. This was the reciprocation. The reciprocation that Krishna gives for your sincere service is more attraction to him, more eagerness to perform more service. Everything about Krishna becomes more attractive. The devotees, the tulsi, you know, certainly the prasadam, the holy name. You know, that's the gift of Krishna. And then if you slack off and you fall away and you screw up, you know, you find it's all dry. You know, you're losing your taste, which is a very dangerous position to be in. So the vision is also given by Krishna. And I read the books, the CCE, you know, it's full of all of these revelations. You know, suddenly Lord Chaitanya shows his Radha Krishna form to Ramananda Roy. He shows his 6-armed form to Sarvabhauma, you know, like that. So that's that ability to see reality. We don't recognize it because we have, this is, you see, according to your ordinary vision, and you're seeing, well, I can see what's going on. But really, what can you see? What's really happening just on the street, there's all of these, conscious living entities, and they have a whole world of consciousness that they're moving along in, and you're interacting with them, and mostly you just hope that they ignore you, they're not going to, and so all of this is happening, but we don't see any of that. We're very, very blighted, the vision. So this is talking about seeing here, and that no one else saw it, nor by charity and piety. None of this can happen. Only devotion. Devotion is what Krishna cares about. That's why all these great Siddhi yogis and all these things, so many examples we have, many of them become enemies of Krishna. All these demons that Krishna kills. It's not like, he killed a big snake and then he killed, a big stork. It wasn't a duck, Yeah, they were in that form, but they were all great yogis who took that form thinking that this would be suitable to kill Krishna. I'll swallow him up, So, all of that's that yogic power, to get those powers, just like Hiranyakashipu, he performed so, serious and inconceivable austerities. What austerities do we have to perform? Cold shower in the morning? Oh my God, I can't do it, this guy was standing on his tiptoes for like thousands of years, his whole body got eaten up by ants and covered by a big anthill. But he was so powerful that the effulgence emanating from his body was going through the anthill and burning the universe. And so the demigod said to Brahma, "Can you do something, please?" And so he comes down on the swan and he pours some, sprinkles it with the Kamandala water, and he comes out with this powerful young body, now I'm invincible, And then he glorifies Brahma as God. If you read those prayers, he wants it. And then he says, "I want immortality, can't give it. Okay, well, I'll get it through the back door." And he has all of these, he's too, what we say is it's staying in English, which I'm sure you don't know. He's too clever by half. In other words, he outsmarted himself, by thinking he was invincible. Like, I can't be killed in the day and the night. I can't be killed by any weapons. Can't be killed by anything, So Nrsimha came and killed him. So the idea is that despite all of his yogic powers, and he was a powerful yogi too, he couldn't even recognize Vishnu when he came as Nrsimhadev. He didn't know he was God. He just thought he was some powerful beast. So that this vision comes to us. It's like so many things else. It's by revelation. The purification happens. You're not causing it to happen. You're just following the instructions and doing your duty and practicing devotional service, and you become more peaceful. Why? Well, the basic reason is that you're not bothered so much by all of these crazy attractions and addictions and all this garbage, and you're being filled with Krishna consciousness, which is the greatest medicine. Nivritta tarshaya, Nivritta tarshaya, Rupagi yamanat, Babashadat shrota mano biramat, Kauttama shloka guna navadat, Puman varajeda vina pashugnat. Does anyone recognize this verse? It's in the Krishna book. The first is like the one and practically the only verse quoted in the Krishna book, right at the beginning of the introduction, because it's at the beginning of the 10th canto. It's spoken by Parikshit to Shukadev, and he's asking him, "Well, now, please pour it on me now. Now we've come to the 10th canto." So he says this very important verse. Prabhupada often quotes it. Nivritta tarshaya. Tarshaya means desires, thirst. Those who are free of the thirst for material pleasures. In other words, pure devotees. Upagiyamanad, when they sing, when they recite, the pastimes of Krishna, that acts like a medicine, bhavaushadhi, to cure the disease of birth and death. And it's not a bitter medicine. Shrota mano abhiramat. It delights the ear and the mind. Abhiramat, Kauttama shloka gunanavadat. Who would give up these descriptions of Uttama shloka? Why is he called Uttama Shloka? Because he's glorified in the greatest of poems and songs. The aesthetics is also important. Who would give it up except Puman Virajeta? What person would give it up? Human being. Except a Pashugnat. Pashugnat are the meat eaters. You have to be so covered over, to be so cruel, to just nonchalantly eat meat. You know, I mean, if you're at all conscious of what you're doing, it's a very hard, makes your hard, impossible to really relish Krishna consciousness. So, or Prashugna means one who's killing himself. The impersonalists also cannot relish because they don't believe. They don't believe it's real. It's just stories, you know. So they may be vegetarians, but they also cannot understand. So that medicine is free flowing. That's what Prabhupada came to give. By the boatload, you know, his books and his lectures and his letters and everything. But we have to develop the determination to drink it, and then the sweetness comes progressively as we, you know, purify. So this 11th chapter is part of that. All right, we're going to go on. We have time. One more. Text 49. Ma te vita ma chivimuda bhavo drishva rupam ghodam idrinma medam vyabeta bi pritamanapanastvam tadeva me rupamidam papashya. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Purport. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master. But Krishna said that he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona were silent, and for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna, just to show him that these people were already killed for their unlawful action. That scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now Arjuna wanted to see the four-armed form, and Krishna showed him. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful or worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is an interesting purport, because Prabhupada says, well, Bhishma and Drona was the teacher, Arjuna, you know, he highly respected him, and Bhishma was worshipable for him. But they remained silent when Draupadi was disrobed, and therefore they deserved to be killed. But then what happens when Bhishma is actually killed, right, on the battlefield? Everybody comes to worship him. Krishna comes to show him, you know, mercy so he can see him. In other words, whatever he did is finished. You know, I mean, all of his siding on the Duryodhana side and everything. And now he's a Mahajan, you know, and and then at the end he offers these beautiful prayers, you know, that's in the Bhagavatam. He's looking at Krishna, surrounded by all the greatest personalities in the universe. Arjuna is there, everybody. Chubabandakamanang tama lavanang rabagata goda varambadang dadani vapadalakakulavatan abjam bidyaskera tadastume nabadya. So there he is, shot through with all the arrows. He's got this power that his father gave him, that he could determine the time of his death. So he's not dying. And so the last few minutes he offers these beautiful prayers. And what is he praying for? You know? He's not praying for anything material. First of all, he glorifies Tribhavana Kamanam. The most beautiful in the three worlds is Krishna. Tamalavanam, with the complexion like a tamalji. Ravi Kata Goda. Where's your friend tonight? Ravi. Ravi Kata Goda. Now you have Ravi as the sun. Now what is Ravi Kata? Who can guess? You know? Kata are the hands. So what's the hands of the sun? The sun rays. So he's got this golden, silken, you know, shining garments that are brilliant like the sun. He's describing Krishna as he sees him. Varambarang dadane vapur are on his beautiful form. Varambarang dadane vapur alakakulavatan and abjam, and his lotus-like face is surrounded by these beautiful curling locks. You know, he's meditating. Alakakulavatan and vijayasake. Now we have Vijay staying with us, right? Sitting most of the time. He's here. It's a name for Arjuna. It's in this verse, Vijaya. We say Vijay, but it's Vijaya. Sakhe, the friend of Vijay, the friend of Arjuna. Ratimastu me navadya. Let my love, let my attraction be drawn to him and not to anyone else. There's several of the prayers end in this. He even remembers the rasa dance. So this is Bhishma's departure, very glorious, and ultimately whatever he got entangled with, Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra there, and that's all forgotten and forgiven. So
Prabhu,
again,
there's one more prayer, the Itimati Rupi Kalpita Vitrushna. Is that his prayer too?
yes, that's there too. I think that's the last one, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know them all. I only know 2 of them, but they're all like.
Thank you.
Beautiful. But thanks
Very
for reminding
nice.
me. Yeah, they're all beautiful. So here again, Prabhupada is reminding us that the devotee is not much interested in the universal form. So we want to see they're not enabled to reciprocate loving feelings. So that's the goal. Prema Pumarto Mahan. The great goal of a human being is to regain the love for Krishna that we lost, that we forgot. It's been misdirected and forgotten. So if that's the goal, then we don't want to get deviated from it and get, who cares about the universal form? I mean, our involvement with the universal form is right here in the Bhagavad Gita, and some parts of the second canon we can understand it. But we don't spend too much time with it. Okay, we have time for one more. I think Vijay Krishna is not with us today. I don't blame him. How can you be in the morning and in the evening when you live in Portugal? I mean, it's like probably 1 in the morning there, or What is it?
It is actually 2:30 a.m. in Portugal.
Yeah, but he's been attending both the Gita classes and the morning class. Maybe
He doesn't want to miss your session, but today I think he missed some more.
Anyway, you can catch it on YouTube. Okay, so Sanjaya Uvacha. Ityarjunam Vasudevas Tatoktva Swakam Rupam Darshayam Asabhuyaha Ashvasayam Asachabitamenam Bhutva Punak Saumya Vapur Mahatma. That's Saumya Vapur, that's the two-handed form. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Purport. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayan. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form, but since Arjuna asked to see this four-handed form, Arjuna also showed him this form again, and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Saumya Vapu is very significant. Saumya Vapu means a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form, and because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated, Premanjana churita bhakti velochanena. Only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. We quoted that one before. Okay. Oh, one more, it's a short purport. Arjuna Vacha Drishtvedam Manusham Rupam Tapasaumyam Janardana Idanim Asmi Samvritta Sacheta Pakatim Gataha. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardan, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature. Purport. Here the words Manusham Rupam clearly indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form, and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is very clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person and who misguides the reader by claiming that it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form and his four-handed Vishnu form, so how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguiding commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita because he knows what is what. The original verses of the Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Then want to pick up, who's he talking about here? You know? Dr. Radhakrishnan. Who, to his commentary to 934, where Krishna says, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, Majjadimana, he says, well, it's not to Krishna, the person who we have to surrender, but to the unborn, eternal within Krishna. Prabhupada often, fairly frequently, he got, in the purport to that verse, he attacks him. But so finally we're back to the two-handed form. And Krishna will now finish up the chapter and give some very important instruction, which we'll finish up next week. But since we're talking about so much on the form, we should have one or two verses about Krishna's beautiful form. Barhapidam, you know this one? Natavadavapu karnayo karnikaram bimranvasa karnaka kapisham vajayanting chamalam Randran Venor Adadasudaya Puriyan Gopa Vrindar Vrindaranyam Sapadanamanam Prabhishad Giti Kirti. With lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower placed upon each ear, he enters Braja's woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day, with coward friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way with fine impressions of his lotus feet. Now this is the beginning of the Venu Geet chapter. And what do the gopis say? What is their first Geet? Akshan Bhatam Palamidam Naparam Vidamo Sakya Pashuna Nabhavesha Yatoba Yasyai Bhaktarang Vajesha Sutayohan Venu Jishtam Yavarnapita Manaraktakataksha Moksham. He said, for those who have eyes, there's no greater vision than to see the beautiful faces of Krishna and Balaram as they enter into the forest, playing their flutes, herding the cows with their friends, and receiving from them, drinking, and to drink in their own loving glances as they enter the forest. So this is a daily affair. They're seeing this. And what do they do the rest of the day? Remember Krishna. They're churning the butter. They're remembering. Prabhupada says this is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. Do your duties, and the time, he set it up. You come, and then Mangalarti, there's the beautiful deities, and then chanting, hold on, you see the beautiful deity with all the dressing, and then the curtains close, and we have the class, and then you go about your duties. When am I going to see the deities? When am I going to see Krishna again? And then the evening program, we used to have a beautiful, if you're in New Dwarka, they had 3 dressings, very opulent. They had the night dressing, and then the morning dressing, then the evening dressing. I don't know if I think they're still doing that. And so, it would be, it's training you up for going back to Godhead, and being in Vrindavan, where you don't see Krishna, he's out in the forest. When is he coming back? Is he coming back? There's whole poems, just about Krishna returning, and look, there's the dust. Oh my God, So that eagerness is necessary to go back to Godhead. Tatra laulyam abhi mulyam ekalam. That's the price for attaining pure Krishna consciousness, is our eagerness for it. Thank you for listening. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Very nice poem and verses and class.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
Dhanubai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Very nice.
I used to have one. At least I have one fan. No, I know there's some other out there. Go ahead. Can you just take the mask off? It'll be okay.
Could you please help me to understand, Krishna wants us to develop transcendental love?
Yes.
I still, from my human perspective, I cannot understand. Like I thought, like learning unconditional love is like the highest love you can get on this planet, and now I'm learning what transcendental love is, and that I only came across while reading the books. Yeah. And
Well, it's you know, you can read about it, you can hear about it, but really to understand that, we have to have this, understand that ourselves as spiritual beings, and that we have an affinity for Krishna because we're spiritual. He's the supreme spiritual being. And we'll be able to experience what transcendental love is when we become Krishna conscious. That's why it doesn't matter, you don't have to understand, just chant Hare Krishna. The mantra itself will attract us to Krishna, because Krishna, the name Krishna is not different from Krishna. And so that his pastimes, his activities, that we begin to understand that by the process of devotional service. So it's really not something you can explain, but the main quality of it is that it's completely selfless. You're taking your pleasures. It's just like a mother and a child. The mother loves the child unconditionally, and so she's happy if the child is happy and healthy. She's doing everything she can to make sure the kid is warm enough and safe and everything. That selfless love is the closest thing in the material world to it. There's no expectation of return, you know. So when we become a little absorbed in Krishna consciousness, we can feel, you know, personally, the transformation in our consciousness. It's not something that you can, you know, define.
It's just, I was reading.
I'm sorry, Mataji, I have to.
Yeah.
Have to
All right.
But maybe afterward we can.
Yeah, I understand.